to see you, buddy.
I'm alone in the office, so I can take this thing off now. I am excited because I am back.
Dude, it has been a complete month since we've been back on the show together.
It's only been 3 weeks, sir.
It's a month, my guy.
It's been a pretty busy, crazy 3 weeks, if you ask me.
You have to think about it.
But it's also been.
That means the last time you were on was a month ago.
Okay, well, I'm just glad to be back. That's what matters right now.
And we are glad to have you back. You missed our episode number 15 last week. That was it was 2 weeks ago. We are now on episode 16. And like always, my name's Coach Brian. Got to introduce ourselves. We also have who with us?
You see it at the bottom, right? Oh, this side, right there. Coach Jacob.
We got Coach Jacob. And I mean, a lot has happened since, we took a week off last week for Thanksgiving. It's been a crazy, crazy 2 weeks in sports. But since you weren't on the show last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, when the NBA draft happened, let's start with some basketball. The Golden State Warriors. Well, okay, let's start number one. First off, Minnesota Timberwolves drafting Anthony Edwards. How do you feel about that? Any thoughts?
I mean, he's a great ball player, and he's expected to become a superstar in the league. And so I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting how, did you hear about his pre-draft interview when he said he didn't even like basketball, and he was just trying to do.
I did not see that.
Yeah, so right before the draft, he did an interview where he said he doesn't even like basketball, and he's just trying to get in the NBA to propel his music career. So
really?
he's trying to be like Damian Lillard, he said, and he wants to propel his music career, and he said he didn't care much about basketball. So there was some last minute drama where he might not get drafted number 1 overall, and then we still see him get drafted number 1 overall. So I mean that's definitely interesting.
Was he just trolling?
There was a thought that he was just saying that because he did not want to go to the Timberwolves, so he was hoping he would fall by saying that kind of stuff. So I mean, it definitely is interesting, but that will definitely be something to monitor going into this season.
That's interesting.
And then number 2 overall, the Golden State Warriors, the hometown team for us, drafted James Wiseman. How do you feel about that?
I am pumped.
I'm excited, man. He's the guy. I feel like when we first started talking about drafting and draft day, we both were in agreement. I mean, actually, I guess you kind of were down for ball, but I'm
always down for ball.
But I definitely in my mind from day one, I think James Wiseman was the choice. There's kind of always been a hole at the center position for the Warriors. I mean, JaVale McGee was there for a little bit. Festus Ezeli, and I mean, you could just go on with all kinds of different names of people they had in there. Andrew Bogut. He just retired, actually.
Yeah, who just retired.
Yep. So, I mean, I think this solidifies the center position for the Warriors. He's athletic. I mean, I read something that the Warriors are now they have the fastest center in the league, and it's not like he's not strong at the same time. And I mean, Steve Kerr's saying he's not the day one starter. I'm not locking him in. Which
I was right about to say. I'm seeing a lot of everyone saying he's stepping right in and taking over, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, Steve Kerr didn't say it's not going to not happen, though.
I don't think he has. Have you seen what he looks like?
Yeah.
He doesn't have. It looks like he don't have much muscles on his body.
Well, yeah, he's
a great ball player. He's going to probably have to bulk up if he's going to want to, actually be a dominant center.
No, for sure. And I completely agree. I think Marquise Chris will do a great job. I like Marquise Chris a lot, actually. I really like watching him play. I think he fits the team really well, as in he's just an athletic center and fits in with the Warriors and what they're trying to do. But I think it's kind of, in a sense, James Wiseman's you're going to see him start. I would honestly be willing to bet he will start more games this year than Marquise Chris. So that's my bold call. I don't think he starts. Water bet. That's our water bet. Just so you guys know, this is another podcast me and Jacob watch. They have water bets all the time. So that's our water bet.
They make side bets between themselves. And although I like Wiseman, I don't think I mean, I don't know. Again, he's great talent. He has a lot of capability. He's a really good defender, which is I think is going to be the key. That's going to be the key for him to either become the guy and keep that spot, is if he can, help anchor that defense with Draymond.
Yeah, no,
Because offensively, he's not. I don't want to say he's not needed, but we got playmakers offensively. They need another anchor who's going to rebound and play defense on the inside. And Marquise Chris, I like him too. He's a little more probably, he's a veteran right now, and he's a little more.
You say he's a veteran, but Marquise Chris is still very young.
Yeah, but he's been in the league for a few years now. He understands it. He's up to speed with it. So it's going to take a little bit for Wiseman to get there. And then we'll just see. Is he going to pick up and run, or is he going to have to kind of, get worked in?
Yeah. So the point I'm coming from and why I think Wiseman will end up starting more games than Chris is
think of a very short training camp. They don't get much time. They don't get much time to learn it.
No, I fully agree, and I think it'll be like the NFL.
Marquise Chris already knows it.
We saw a lot of rookies start the NFL season not being the dominant. Like, think about T. Higgins on the Bengals. I mean, he had a very slow start, and now he's like their number one guy in Cincinnati. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to come out of the gate right away and you have to remember, he didn't play college basketball last year.
Fantasy-wise, he's their number one guy. Fantasy football-wise, he's their number one guy. Correct and corrected there.
I would still.
He's not the number one wide receiver.
I would argue
he's not the number one wide receiver on the roster.
I would.
But I'm not saying their most productive wide receiver.
I'm not saying he's the best wide receiver, but I think he is the go-to wide receiver as of right now.
He is their most productive.
I think he's the first look as of right now in that offense, but that is my take. But part of the reason why I think Wiseman will settle in is because we've seen the Warriors trust their rookies over the past couple of years. I mean, Eric Pascal, he hit the ground running. He earned starting minutes, and like the Warriors aren't scared to play the young players. That's what I think they've shown in their past. So that's part of the reason why I'm thinking Wiseman will get some good amount of playing time this year.
Oh, he's definitely going to get a good amount of playing time.
Well, yeah, but I should say that's why I think he's going to get a good amount of starts.
That's a different story.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I'm not saying he won't outplay Chris, but I think Chris will get more starts.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, 82 games is a long season.
It is.
But I think
and like I said, it's a very short training camp. It's very short for Wiseman to just seamlessly, take over the spot.
No, I get it.
It's going to take some time for them to get there.
I got you. Okay, and let's move on to the third pick, where we see the Charlotte Hornets take LaMelo Ball. And I mean, I think everyone's first initial reaction to this was, dude, remember when LeVar Ball called out Michael Jordan and now he's drafted to Michael Jordan's team?
That's crazy.
I think everybody was freaking out about that. I think people kind of just assumed he was off the table. Honestly, I think that's a mature decision for the Hornets though, because he was the best player available. And I mean, they said they had to ask Michael Jordan before drafting him, and Michael Jordan approved it. Which means, I mean, Michael Jordan's a competitor, right? He knows at the end of the day he wants to win. Well, who's the best player available? Who's going to help us win the most games? And I think at the position the Hornets were in, LaMelo Ball is the guy who's going to win them the most games.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't have minded seeing him go to the Warriors. I know you guys heard me say that before. I wouldn't have minded it at all.
I wouldn't have minded.
And I know everyone's like, oh, well, we have Curry and we have Clay and we have, and now Clay's hurt and we got Kelly. But, these guys are well into their 30s now.
Yeah, no.
They're not going to be there forever.
I agree.
If we want to keep a dynasty,
I get what you're saying.
So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
I wouldn't have been upset about the LaMelo Ball pick. I just think James Wiseman.
But that's the thing. I wasn't upset about it either because I like Wiseman as a player as well. So it was a win-win for us. Either way, we were gonna get a really good player. It just preference at that point.
And then, is there any other draft picks you would like to talk about?
No, not necessarily. I didn't really get, too much past a lot of them. There were some really cool, not cool, but there's some really interesting kind of scenarios for some of the rookies and where they landed. It's going to be interesting. Like I'm curious to see how Obi Toppin does. I think he's going to be, pretty good. Not to say he's, going to become the star of the team.
Well, a lot of people think he was the most NBA ready prospect, that he will be able to help provide day one to the best of a lot of people. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So that'll be interesting to see. We also saw a huge trade recently happen in the NBA. Do you know what trade I'm talking about?
Which one are you talking about?
Where we saw Russell Westbrook get traded to the Wizards for John Wall and a first-round pick. What's your first reaction to that?
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah, man. So when I first heard the trade, I was next to my dad, and my dad said, why would the Rockets trade Russell Westbrook, or why would the Wizards trade Wall and a first-round pick for just another version of Wall, which I thought was weird. But my dad thinks they're like the same player.
They're similar.
They're similar. I think Wall's better defensively. And I think Wall's more of a pass-first guy than Westbrook is. That's my opinion, at least.
I agree with that.
I think Wall...
And basically, they want to keep the ball in Harden's hands more.
Exactly. I think Wall fits better next to Harden because it gives you a guard you could put on the other team's best guard, so you don't have to have Harden on it. And then it gives a pass-first type of mentality guy who's not really taking the ball from Harden, taking shots from Harden.
Yeah, I mean, John Wall's not – I don't want to say he's fully pass-first because that man is just –
well, yeah, he's good. Yeah,
deadly. He is deadly on the court no matter where he's at.
For sure. I think he fits the Rockets.
Interesting move for the Warrior or the Warriors, the Rockets. I think it definitely makes them a better team.
For the Rockets, it makes them a better team, and they get a first-round pick. So why would they not do it?
Yeah, and it's not to say that, anything against Russell Westbrook. He's a great player. It's just for that style and what they want to do, and it makes more sense to have a pass-first type of a player because Westbrook and Harden, great players, but they both like to have the ball in their hands.
Yeah, so, and the crazy part is I don't think the trade makes the Wizards necessarily worse either. I mean, yeah, they lose the first-round pick, which is never something you want to see. But, I mean, when have we seen Westbrook be at his best when there's not much talent around him? And I know you have Bradley Beal there, but there's been a lot of talk about him getting traded this year. So
what was interesting is a few days before that the trade happened, the Wizards announced that they were not looking to trade John Wall.
I mean, it's one of those things. I think most sports organizations have to operate this way where you can say you don't want to trade someone, but you always have to be listening. And they got the offer they wanted. I think that's as simple as it is.
Yep. Definitely.
And then do you want to talk about
some pretty interesting signings, contract signings in the NBA?
You want to talk about one more trade first?
Okay.
The trade bringing Kelly Oubre to the Warriors. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you kind of cut out there. I couldn't.
Oh, the trade the Warriors made, bringing Kelly Oubre in.
That was an interesting decision as well. I think, again, defense, huge focus on this team. And I think him and Draymond together, they're both scrappy type of players. And, they don't mind getting their hands dirty. So I think Kelly's a good fit for that. Obviously, he's not going to have the same type of offensive production that Clay has, but and Clay's an elite defender as well. But I think Kelly's a good fit, a good replacement, to fill in for that in the time being.
And I mean, from my perspective, I think between Kelly and Wiggins, you'll get close between the two of them. You'll get close to the offensive production of Clay. Maybe not the same efficiency, but the points are there. Like the ability to score points are there, I should say. And another thing defensively is if you're putting a starting five out there of Curry, and then you have Wiggins, Kelly, Green, and then I'm going to say Wiseman because I don't know the stat I read is with Wiseman and they're not Chris. But 4 of the 5 starters would have a wingspan of 7 feet. So, I mean, the Warriors were talking about how they wanted to get more athletic and more length. Defensively, they have all kinds of length with 4 guys with a 7-foot wingspan, and they're all pretty athletic guys.
Yep.
So, I mean, we could really see the Warriors if they want to be a really dominant defensive team, but they just I mean, it'll be interesting, like to see. I mean, the Warriors were always a good defensive team when they were scoring, but to really have defense be the precedent will be interesting.
It is definitely going to be interesting, and I don't think you realize, but defense has always been the precedent for the Warriors.
Well, yeah, no, it
It's just
definitely
we've
has.
had these amazing scores. Like, it just overshadows how well of a defense the Warriors do play.
No,
But
they were definitely always good defensively, but I think when the Warriors were winning those championships, you ask someone like, "What's the first thing you think of when you think of the Warriors?" They're not going to say defense.
exactly what I'm saying. The
Yeah,
offense was overshadowing, but it's
exactly.
not to say how great their defense was.
Mhm.
Don't forget how great that defense was.
Yep. Is there
Curry is
anything?
a very underrated defender as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is
But
there anything else?
in other news too, there was some interesting signings.
Oh yeah.
So LeBron signed an extension.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel
Staying
like
in
the
LA.
LeBron and AD one was kind of expected. Let's be honest.
It was expected, but it's big news
Yeah.
for LA fans because they want to keep that going. The Rockets also brought in DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh yeah, I forgot
So
about that.
they're trying something out there. They're
They
trying
needed to
something.
bring in a center, man. They traded away all their weren't like all their players like under 6'7" or something going into the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
That's just wild. They definitely need to get some height, and I think DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, if we could just see him be a fraction of what he was before all these injuries, he could be huge for them.
Well, he may need to be a little more than a fraction to be effective. But yeah, so it's been it's going to be crazy because by the time we come back to do another episode of Sports Talk Live, by the way, yep, by the time the new year starts, I should say, because we just found out that we're going to be doing some more of these episodes recently. I'm sorry. So, yes, we are going to be doing them through the holidays. But December 22nd is when the season starts.
Yep. That'll be interesting. It's coming up. I mean, less than 20 days away.
Yeah.
Wild.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at right now. Originally, last week was supposed to be our last episode before the holidays. We're going to go extend it a couple more weeks just for the viewers. But yeah, 22nd NBA season starts. All of these rookies who just got drafted, all these new contract signings, all these new players on their teams are trying to get, into the groove of things, learn their playbooks and learn the systems. And it's going to be an interesting opening night. That is for sure.
You ready to go to football now?
Let's do it.
Okay, so just to refresh everyone, me and Jacob have been doing weekly picks from week 3 on. We did miss last week since we took the week off for Thanksgiving. I meant to get Jacob's picks from him, but I forgot to text him. And
oh no,
yeah, blame me from that. But from
I was in a food coma, I wouldn't have answered.
From weeks 3 to week 11, Jacob has a 2-game lead on me from the season. I'm kind of surprised how close it is for how many games have been played.
Yeah, I think I started doing the homer picks a little too much. So I'm gonna get back to my roots and what I believe is actually gonna happen.
Okay, so let's get started. We actually have more games to get through since we don't have a Thursday night game this week. So let's try picking up the speed. Game 1, New Orleans Saints versus the Atlanta Falcons. I don't like the Atlanta Falcons right now, so I'm going New Orleans Saints.
I know you don't like the Atlanta Falcons right now because they just destroyed your Raiders.
Oh, I don't want to talk about
obliterated them. And the Saints they're kind of rolling right now. They're not doing too bad, even with Taysom. They're not
Taysom been pretty solid for them.
Yeah, he's not doing too bad.
2 weeks ago, he just lit up Atlanta.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, he destroyed Atlanta himself. So I really want to say the Saints, but I have a feeling this is going to be a really close game.
Hey, Jacob's going Atlanta.
Nah, again, I'm gonna say New Orleans.
Yeah, it looks like Julio Jones is still
going to be choking in Atlanta.
It looks like Julio Jones is still going to be out this week. Fantasy implication, that's huge, but also Alvin Kamara has not been the same player on the Saints side. Just something to note. It's the last week before going into playoffs, so I might actually be benching Alvin Kamara this week in my league. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? But he hasn't done anything since Taysom Hill's taken over. Next game is the Cleveland Browns versus the Tennessee Titans. The Cleveland Browns might be the biggest underrated team right now. I mean, they've been playing a lot of ugly weather games, so a lot of people just assume their team's no good. I'm not going to pick them here. I think the Titans are like one of the best teams in the league. I love the Titans. I just wanted to note that I think the Cleveland Browns are very underrated right now.
They are indeed underrated. And for this game, I am still going to pick the Browns.
Oh my, you're taking the Browns over the Titans. Titans are rolling right now.
Picking the Browns.
Man, you're taking the Browns to the Super Bowl. Okay, next game is the Detroit Lions versus the Chicago Bears. I'm gonna go with the actually, I don't know who I'm gonna go for Lions Bears. Do you want to go first this time? No, I think about it.
Sure, I will gladly go first. I think this is going to be a great game for the Chicago defense and a terrible game for the Chicago offense. I really want Allen Robinson to go to a better team.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, I was thinking about it the other day. Allen Robinson to the Texans. I would love that, man. Give him Deshaun Watson as a quarterback. Like Robinson deserves that, man.
That'd be great. But I do like a lot of the players on the Bears. For some reason, I just don't think they're gonna pull it out. And I'm gonna go with the Lions.
Trubisky is back for them. He looked better than Foles did against Green Bay, even though he still turned the ball over like twice. I think for offensive scoring, Trubisky is better for the offense than
because yeah. I'm going Detroit.
Okay.
Detroit.
Yeah, I like Detroit. I mean, they fired their head coach and GM, so they have a new coach going into this game. It'll be interesting what they do.
Oh yeah.
Deandre Swift. I want to talk about Deandre Swift, man. It really sucks the reports that are coming out about him. He's like a young up and coming player.
Can I change my pick?
You want to go Chicago?
Yeah, I forgot they got a new coach and all of that, and there's a whole lot going on in Detroit right now.
I think Detroit, honestly, I think having a new coach, it might be like the best thing for them, kind of like the Texans.
It might,
they just exploded. I'm actually excited for Detroit. I'm still going Chicago in this game, but if DeAndre Swift was fully healthy, I would pick Detroit.
Yeah.
But Adrian Peterson,
you should have never said that their coach was out and DeAndre Swift was out because I completely forgot.
Yeah. Did you hear the Adrian Peterson quote about DeAndre Swift?
No, I did not.
So Adrian Peterson said that DeAndre Swift has not been himself since having a concussion 2 weeks ago, that he's usually like the life of practice and he's super upbeat and he's just been super like groggy in a sense, like he hasn't been himself. Adrian Peterson said, and man, that's just really concerning for me because I like DeAndre Swift and concussions are a scary thing. Next game is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, we don't know who their quarterback's going to be. It's kind of up in the air. It could be Tua if he's healthy. It could be Ryan Fitzpatrick, who probably gives them the best chance in the playoffs. That'll be interesting how that plays off. And then Cincinnati Bengals, while you were gone, Joe Burrow, torn ACL, out for the season. So now they have Brandon Allen, who is Brandon Allen. That's all I have to say about that one. Looks like Joe Mixon will also be out for the rest of the season. I'm going to take Miami here because their defense is better. Where are you going? Hello? You there? Jacob? Uh-oh. Looks like Jacob.
One of our streams is having connection issues.
I think we're both having a little bit of connection issues, but who do you pick? Miami? Uh-oh. I think
I'm going to pick Miami.
Okay.
I'm going to pick Miami. Although we don't know who their quarterback is, I'm sure they know who they're going with this week. And the Bengals just lost Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and Mixon.
Like, tell me this. Pick who do you confidently who do you have confidence in regarding any of the offensive players for the Bengals?
I mean, I have confidence in guys, but that confidence is gone with Brandon Allen. Like a lot of their, I mean,
that's exactly my point.
And Tyler Boyd, I would have confidence in, but with Brandon Allen,
if you're forced to have one of those guys, it's T. Higgins. But
yeah, for sure. Giovanni Bernard for fantasy.
Devontae Parker's like one of those must kind of. I think he's gonna have a huge game this week, no matter who it is. I kind of think that the the Dolphins should go with Fitzmagic. If Fitzpatrick does start, you definitely want to play Devontae Parker if you have him on your fantasy team.
If Tua is starting, though, you definitely could bench Devontae Parker. No one would blame you for that.
Yep.
Tua just doesn't have the same offensive upside that Ryan Fitzpatrick has. I think the Miami Dolphins really need to decide, are they building for future years or do they want to go for it this year? If they want to go for it this year, they have to play Ryan Fitzpatrick.
They're in a weird position. They're in a weird position. Their
They-
defense
they're
is actually really good.
Yeah, which is something I never thought I would say. The Dolphins were like the worst defense forever.
Yeah.
Okay, next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Minnesota Vikings. Dude, the Minnesota Vikings have been on a tear as of late. Kirk Cousins has put up back-to-back top 5 fantasy quarterback performances. They have Dalvin Cook. Jacksonville looks bad. That's all I have to say.
I agree with that. Jacksonville does look really bad. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings and Dalvin Cook.
Yep. Next game is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans. Texans are getting David Johnson back, but did just lose Will Fuller, their star receiver. That really hurt to drop off my fantasy team yesterday. I kind of wanted to cry. I'm not going to lie. But
Yep.
it's time to see Brandon Cooks step up. Brandon Cooks, it's his time to prove he is a wide receiver 1. And yeah, I mean, fantasy-wise, I'd be concerned starting anyone on Houston, especially against the good Indianapolis defense. I'm taking the Colts. Even though Phil Rivers is dealing with an injury, I think he'll be fine.
Yep, I think he's definitely going to be fine. I am also taking the Colts. And, there's just, again, David Johnson is coming back. But even healthy David Johnson hasn't been the same David Johnson that we used to know. So without Will Fuller, I don't see much happening offensively. And it's going to be
and the Colts are
is very good chance that it's going to be a disaster for Houston.
Next game is the Las Vegas Raiders versus the New York Jets. I'll let you take this one first.
Well, would I be foolish to pick the Jets?
They haven't won a game.
That's why.
The Raiders still have a winning record.
It was just a question.
Hey, Jacob's taking
because the answer is yes, I would be. We all know the Jets can't win a game right now. We all know that.
Adam Gase is their head coach. I will never pick them to win a game.
If there's ever Jets against somebody, always put me against the opponent. Always.
As long as Adam Gase is their head coach.
Always.
Things can turn around if they get a better head coach. I mean, they're probably getting Trevor Lawrence next year, unless he goes back to college, which
he doesn't want to play there.
Which looks like a possibility because he doesn't want to play for the Jets, apparently.
I wouldn't want to play for them either.
I'm going to take the Raiders. I mean, Josh Jacobs is out, which I picked up Devontae Booker in 2 fantasy leagues, and it looks like Jacobs might be out more than 1 week. So when I said I was going to bench Alvin Kamara, I think I'm going to bench him for Devontae Booker. How do you feel about that?
I think that's a homer pick.
Yes, but Kamara hasn't put up
a good payoff.
He put up like 4 points last week, and the week before he put up like 7 or 8. So it's been shown that with Taysom Hill there, I mean, if Drew Brees is a quarterback, I'm starting Kamara hands down. But Kamara's just not the same. He's just not getting the same workload with Taysom Hill there. So
yep,
I think I'm going to do it. Because against a bad Jets team, Devontae Booker could easily get 20 carries.
Yep.
Next game is the Seattle Seahawks versus the New York Giants. Giants, I mean, a team in New York, I'm picking the other team. That's simple this year.
Yep. It's pretty simple. Although don't even, well, it's against the Seahawks. Those receivers are nasty right now. And I was going to say, don't necessarily count out the Giants' pass defense. They're not as bad as people expect.
Daniel Jones is doubtful.
They're the Giants.
And Daniel Jones win games.
So we're definitely going with the Seahawks.
Daniel Jones is also doubtful with a hamstring injury he suffered last week. Their backup's Colt McCoy. I'm not going to trust Colt McCoy. I'm sorry. Next game is the Los Angeles Rams versus the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is dealing with an injury, and that is something to note. Arizona has been giving up more fantasy points defensively to the opponent's receivers than any other team. So if you have Rams receivers and Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods, make sure you start them this week. I'm taking the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, man. I don't know who I want this week.
I mean, Arizona's a good team.
I
I think the Rams are better.
I want to say Arizona, but something tells me that it's just not going to happen. I'm trying to not also pick the same teams as you because we've been going the same route quite a bit in this week, but
Yeah.
it's hard right now, and I don't. Kyler Murray finally had a dud.
Well, he got hurt.
Fantasy football wise, and it was is that going to continue? It just might. These are some tough matchups he's got going on. I think I'm going to have to take the Rams. They looked pretty good the other day.
Okay, next game we have. I'm going to let you go first on this one.
Although they did lose to the Niners.
What?
Although the Rams did lose to the 49ers.
I think the 49ers are kind of coming on. They looked like a better football team this last week. I will say that. And they're getting healthy. Mostert came back. Next up is New England Patriots versus the Los Angeles Chargers. I already put my pick in, so I'm not going to say it. I'm going to have
the Chargers.
Oh, man, that's who I picked.
And awesome Eckler.
Yeah, dude. He came back from my fantasy team. I'm making real quick. There's a fantasy league that me and Jacob are in, and 9 of the 10 teams have a chance to make playoffs going into this last week. It's pretty crazy how close that league is. I'm making a last-minute run in it. We'll see what I can do. I got Austin Eckler coming back, so it'll be pretty crazy. I started the year like 1-5. If I make the playoffs, that's pretty solid. Oh, I think we lost Jacob again. Jacob, you there? Can you hear me, Jacob? Oh no, Jacob froze.
I'm here. I think I'm losing you.
Oh, you froze, my guy. Okay, you're back now. Okay.
Oh man, on my end, it still froze.
Oh man, yeah, I think it's yours. It keeps showing your connection dropping on my screen. Next game is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Green Bay Packers. I think Philly is a very bad team right now, and that's all I have to say about that one. I'm taking the Packers.
We're going with Green Bay.
I feel like a lot of these games are very one-sided this week, which means we're probably going to both get them all wrong. Next up is the Denver Broncos versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Denver Broncos are not a good team right now, so especially when they have to start a wide receiver at quarterback. That was brutal last week, man.
Yeah.
Brutal. Okay, I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm assuming you're taking the Chiefs.
I don't know why they didn't just push the game back.
Yeah, I mean, they pushed the Ravens game back to Tuesday this upcoming week, so Lamar Jackson could come back and play. But the Broncos,
they pushed it to Wednesday.
No, it's Tuesday. Well, that wasn't for Lamar Jackson. That was pushed back.
Oh yeah, you're talking about this week coming up.
But this upcoming week,
exactly. I was right about to say, let's postpone the Ravens games because Lamar Jackson can't play, but the entire Broncos quarterback room is done for, and let's just throw a receiver behind center. So under center, why not?
The Broncos players were pretty upset about it, and I don't blame them. Next game is another one-sided game like all of these. Washington versus Pittsburgh, the undefeated Steelers.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, Washington doesn't look that bad, but I don't think they can keep up with the Steelers, who've just been flat-out dominant. Next game is the Buffalo Bills versus the San Francisco Niners. I know what I said. I think the Niners are coming on. I think they're getting healthier. I mean, Deebo Samuel looked like a beast last week. They're getting Brandon Ayuk back. They got Raheem Mostert back. Their offensive pieces are coming together. Do you know what? Let me think. Wait, say your pick. I might take the Niners.
I'm going to take the Bills.
I know you're going to take the Bills.
I don't know if I like the Bills as much as I did in the beginning of the season, though.
You know, same. They still have that good record, but it just there's something about it, and it just scares me. I'm going to take the Niners. The Niners are getting healthier. I'm gonna take the upset team. And then the last game is the Dallas Cowboys against the Baltimore Ravens. Another one-sided game, in my opinion. It's Tuesday night football. Lamar Jackson will probably be back. I'm taking the Ravens.
Taking the Ravens.
You know, we only have 2 games that are different this week. The Niners, Bills, and the Tennessee Browns. Titans, Browns. So we were pretty aligned with
our went Browns to go against you.
And I took the Niners to go against you. So
perfect.
We did it. Fair enough, right? I think this is going to be a good week of football. Good luck making the fantasy playoffs. Have you clinched playoffs in any of your leagues?
I have clinched in all but one league. I'm in 4 leagues.
I'm assuming the
Depending on
one
how
league is the same one I haven't clinched in, JJ's.
Yes, that is the same league. And if I win this week, I will clinch a spot.
Yeah, so I actually need someone to lose to clinch a spot. Granted, I think 2 of the people are playing each other, so one's going to lose, and I have the point advantage over both of them. So the main thing I need to do is just make sure I win. My team's looking pretty solid in that league. The one thing I'm worried about is Deandre Swift. I'm having to start him as my second running back. I wasn't able to get Devontae Booker. And it's either him or Gio Bernard, and I don't trust Gio Bernard.
I would just like to point out that I have now surpassed you in the rankings in your fantasy football league.
Oh, you have? Let me check.
And you were the top dog all season long.
Yeah, I've lost back-to-back weeks in that league, man. I was 9-1, and now I'm 9-3, and 2 of my losses are to one person. You hate to see it. Alex has beat me twice. It just happens sometimes. That league's very close. I think between you, me, and Alex, we are definitely the 3 best teams. I think the standings are accurate in that league. It'll be interesting what happens come playoff time. But I think this is going to be it for this week's episode, guys. I hope you had a great time with Sports Talk Live. This is Coach Brian.
This is Coach Jacob.
And we will see you guys next Friday at 4 o'clock.